With the election right around the corner, I thought it'd be a good time to talk about exactly what GOA does to help no-compromise candidates win elections and gun owners like you to choose the best candidate in your local elections. Hi, I'm Ben Sanderson and you're watching the Minuteman Moment. Now before we get into the video, I want to remind you that Election Day is approaching quickly. This election, the Second Amendment is on the ballot. We need you to not only exercise your constitutional right and vote, but also encourage all of your pro-gun friends and family to get out as well. This election is winnable, but we need everyone to go out and vote. Now back to the video. Our team spends hours every day poring over the news, interviewing candidates, and compiling voting records to dig deeper than just the surface level statements of, "I'm pro-gun, just trust me, bro." We're not endorsing squishes or those who only pay lip service to the Second Amendment. We're endorsing the best of the best in Washington, D.C., like Representative Thomas Massie from Kentucky, who has helped GOA hold the ATF accountable.
There is no gun show loophole, and I'm glad you finally admitted that. Now I want to get to something else.
I've said that publicly, and there never was.
And GOA endorsed Representative Chip Roy from Texas.
You could use a semi-automatic weapon to fight tyranny.
Sure.
You mean you'd use it against American troops?
The very existence of the Second Amendment is designed purposefully to empower the people to be able to resist the force of tyranny used against them to step over their natural rights given to them by God. That is why the Second Amendment exists. That is very specifically why the Second Amendment exists. And let's be very clear about that.
So when you see that a candidate is GOA endorsed, you know they believe in the Second Amendment just like you and me. We're spending millions to elect the most pro-Second Amendment candidates we can find into federal office to help us protect and restore the Second Amendment. To help you find out who's with us, who's a compromiser, and who's a gun grabber, we have both a congressional scorecard to let you look up your current representative and senators, and a voter guide for those candidates who aren't in Congress currently. The scorecard lets you see how your member of Congress has voted on important pieces of legislation over their career. You can download a PDF of your member of Congress to see all the bills they voted on, their descriptions for why Gun Owners America lobbying team got involved, and how they voted. And then the voter guide is based on a survey that we send out to prospective candidates and gives us something to hold them accountable to if they get elected into office. We also take into account personal meetings, any state elected offices, and grades they may have received in the past, and more. Now, one of the things our anti-gun opponents want to say is that we're just a wing of the Republican Party and only serve to get them elected. That's not true at all. We support pro-gun Republicans and oppose anti-gun Republicans all of the time. The problem with the Democratic Party is that their opposition to the Second Amendment has been incorporated into their party platform.
We'll finally pass red flag laws, universal background checks, and an assault weapons ban.
Democrats have almost eliminated all pro-gun Blue Dog Democrats from their ranks. But GOA always gives Democrats a fair shake on their stance on the Second Amendment. Gun Owners of America only cares about one thing during elections: to get the best possible candidate into office to help restore our gun rights and fight against any and all new infringements. A great example of this would be our stellar record of picking winners and calling out losers from the very start. Take VP candidate Tim Walz, who has always had a failing grade with us. Yeah, he might go out there and talk about his past endorsements from other groups, but that's why we're the only no-compromise gun lobby in Washington, D.C.
We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
Let's take a look at a few of his votes while he was in Congress, shouldn't we? He voted to create a national registry of concealed carry permit holders. He voted against the First and Second Amendments by attempting to force GOA to disclose our membership list as a registry, to create a gun owner registry for the Federal Election Commission. He voted to expose gun owners' personal medical history, leading to bans and confiscation. He voted to restrict the ability of gun owners and hunters to use the Washington-Rochambeau National Historic Trail Area to create a 600-mile gun-free zone for sportsmen and hikers. And finally, he voted to ban carrying firearms for self-defense in national parks. Now, thankfully, Walz was unsuccessful in getting his way on all of these anti-gun votes I just mentioned. If you want to know more, be sure to check out our video on Tim Walz's record after this one. While Tim Walz can try to trick hunters and gun owners into believing he's just like them, we've known from the start that he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, trying to camouflage himself as a heckin' responsible gun owner who just wants to ban your AR-15 for common sense. Another example of a Democrat that claims to be pro-gun, but that GOA would never endorse, would be current Alaska Representative Mary Peltola. In fact, GOA has endorsed her opponent, Nick Begich, for Alaska's at-large district. He's an actual hunter and a gun owner who supports the individual right to keep and bear arms and opposes all of Joe and Kamala's gun control. Now, despite what Mary Peltola's 2 sentences on her campaign website and other groups' endorsements would have you believe, Peltola is not a friend of gun owners. She has a 51% on our scorecard, so a coin flip would only be slightly worse for gun rights than she is. But now let's go over her votes and break down exactly how she got that score. She voted against the creation of the Weaponization Committee. You know, Jim Jordan's subcommittee that's targeting the federal agencies that are attacking your constitutional rights. We scored a vote for the creation of this committee as it would help hold the rogue ATF accountable and fight against their infringements. She voted against including Representative Miller Meek's amendment to defund CDC anti-gun research. This amendment would have defunded the CDC and NIH funding the gun control lobby's propaganda. Peltola also voted against Representative Davidson's amendment to protect gun owners' data from warrantless searches. We scored this vote as a part of the Reforming Intelligence and Securing America Act because it was crucial to prevent the feds from being able to buy your information from a third party and expose your individual freedoms. We also did a whole video on that, so be sure to check it out after this one. Now, the most important vote, and the one that shows exactly how pro-gun a candidate Mary Peltola is, are the votes to bring the Pistol Brace Congressional Review Act to the floor, and then the full vote on it. Peltola first voted against the rule bringing the CRA to the floor, meaning that she was just fine to let it die without getting a vote and denying millions of Americans their Second Amendment right. Once the rule, or basically the vote to vote on the CRA passed, she then switched her vote for the Congressional Review Act. So here's the tricky part. While she can say she voted for the CRA and be telling the truth, that's not the whole truth, since she first voted not to vote on the CRA at all. This is exactly the kind of swamp monster behavior that we fight against and which muddies the water between real pro-Second Amendment congressmen and fake ones trying to con you. Now, before people get angry, it's not just because she and Tim Walz are part of the Democratic Party. We showed you the exact votes they both took against the Second Amendment. Just this cycle, we actually endorsed a Democrat state legislator in Pennsylvania. He fought against a gun registry and sponsored multiple bills that protected gun owners' rights and reopening gun ranges and stores while also deeming them life-sustaining. That man would be State Representative Frank Burns, who again is a Democrat running in the 72nd District. Additionally, GOA endorsed Virgil Goody, a representative for Virginia's 5th Congressional District. He was first elected as a Democrat in 1996 and was a strong pro-gun ally in the House for GOA until 2008. While he was a Democrat, he had co-sponsored a Lautenberg repeal, which would have prevented millions of Americans from being disarmed for nothing more than family squabbles. He later authored his own repeal bill in 2001. He also teamed up with Congressman Ron Paul in 2004 to expand the Armed Pilots program that GOA spearheaded following the terrorist attacks of 9/11. With the Second Amendment on the ballot this election, it's important that gun owners get trustworthy information and research on the candidates they'll be voting for. That's why we spent countless hours getting all this into easy-to-access tools for you to be the best informed voter you can be this November. Remember, to get out to vote and encourage your friends as well. Now, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to stay up to date on GOA's latest fights for your rights.